You alright?
Yeah, I'm alright. You alright?
Yeah, you alright?
Mm-hmm. You alright?
Yeah, I'm alright.
Alright.
So Lily picked.
Not picked.
No. Hi, welcome to the Bench Movie Club. I'm Charlie.
I'm Lily.
And in this episode, we are going to talk about 2024's Nosferatu. Directed by Robert Eggers, who also done The Lighthouse and The Witch. Lighthouse has William Dafoe, who's also in this. And Nosferatu stars Lily Rose Depp, who's also in The King and Crisis, and is of course the daughter of Nosferatu. I mean, Johnny Depp.
Well, Johnny Depp doesn't play at Nosferatu,
No.
so that doesn't make
Johnny Depp and
Vanessa Paradis.
Yeah. You've also got Nicholas Hoult, of course, from About a Boy, Mad Max, and quite recently Juror 2, which is quite good. Bill Skarsgård, who's in It, Chapters 1 and 2, Barbarian, The Crow. Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's in Bullet Train, Kick-Ass, Nowhere Boy, and Sometimes Inside a Skeleton. William Dafoe, who's in Platoon, Spider-Man, American Psycho.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry,
You're right, you're still in shock from the film.
I'm not in shock, I'm just tired.
Okay. Emma Corrin, who's in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Who's she in that?
She was the villain in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh.
And in this, she was the blonde woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's also in Little Miss Chatterbox's Lover. Ralph Ineson is also in this. He's the doctor who's helping William Dafoe. He's going to be quite big soon, literally. He's going to play Galactus in the Fantastic Four film. And he's been in loads of stuff, Game of Thrones and stuff, but he's largely known as Finchy in The Office.
Well, you down there, love?
Close to the bone, but harmless, isn't it?
Christ. Give me half hour with her, it'll be up to me nuts and guts.
And the film is called Nosferatu, and we just went and watched it. What do you think, Lil? Be honest. They can't all be winners.
No, okay, it wasn't a bad film. I didn't dislike the film. I just feel like it was quite. It was a bit over the top with being a bit vulgar. Is the best way to put it?
Yeah.
I think it was overly vulgar. I get the nature of it and I get why it was, but for me, it was very vulgar.
What in particular?
Like, just throughout, like it just the entire nature of the film seemed to be quite. I don't know. Was not.
So the story basically follows the same story as the previous Nosferatu, which of course follows the story of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yes.
Of course, there was. This is in the background. Got the original Nosferatu, which was made in 1922 on location in the Carpathians and several Baltic towns. Nosferatu is in all but name Bram Stoker's Dracula, with the lead names changed. Starring Max Schreck as Nosferatu, the film relies heavily on lighting, shadow, and pictorial compensation. Following closely Bram Stoker's novel, Stoker's wife took offence and won her case against the producers, forcing them to destroy all prints. Luckily, a couple survived. Hence why he was able to see it. Now, the original one, I remember seeing that. It's quite short, the original one.
Yeah.
64 minutes. Just over an hour. And even though it's only a PG, it is still quite... It's very eerie, obviously, from 1922. It's a silent film, and something about a silent film with a distorted sort of old visuals makes it that much more eerie.
Yeah.
You of course got the classic scene from the original one of classic shot of him going up the stairs, and you see his shadow creeping up the stairs, which they kind of replicated in this near the end.
Yeah.
I see a bit where it had his shadow sort of creeping across the room, which is obviously the director's homage to the original. The thing is about Nosferatu, as everyone knows, Nosferatu is just another remake of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which there's been loads of Dracula films. Why didn't he just make another Dracula film? Why did he call it Nosferatu?
What, this film?
And my theory behind that is he made a conscious choice to choose Nosferatu rather than Dracula, because then you can take a bit more liberties with the story.
Yeah.
Like, there's obviously some beats in this which aren't the same as Dracula.
No.
For one, it's set in Germany rather than London, where Dracula takes place predominantly. But it still has him having to travel to Transylvania. That's why there's the Romanian flag, because that's where modern day Transylvania is. Yeah, go on. So what else did you think about the film?
I mean, I think the acting was terrific in the film, and the music was nice. But the thing is, I think I would have enjoyed it more if the story allowed the music to tell a lot of the plot points more. Because obviously, where it's taken the name Nosferatu, you want it to kind of play homage to the original more, which it doesn't necessarily do in this.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's just my...
No, it's interesting. So they could have had less dialogue and just concentrated more on music and visuals.
I understand like a modern audience wouldn't necessarily appreciate a lack of dialogue, but it's not that it can't be done. There's been plenty of modern films, for example, like Bird Box, where that is... I mean, I understand that that's more heavily visual stuff, but then there are other films, it escapes me at this moment, but like... Okay, but that is still dialogue heavy, but there's definitely a film I'm talking about. No, do you know which one I'm talking about? Where they cannot talk or the monster will come and get them?
Yes, Quiet Place.
Yeah, films like that, they're able to carry it off very well without much dialogue, and I feel like they could have played more of an homage to the silent cinema roots of the film.
Yeah, I think so, because also in this you had Willem Dafoe's character playing, who for all intents and purposes is the Van Helsing character, the guy who's there to hunt Nosferatu, also known as Dracula.
Yeah.
I felt Willem Dafoe sort of reined it in a little bit. I think he could have let loose a little bit more. When you think of the fun that Anthony Hopkins had, say, in Bram Stoker's Dracula from 92, he really sort of played up to the absurdity of the character and how he's a little bit crazy, how he believes in this thing. Whereas in this, there were moments where, say, like the other doctor would say about the plague, and he'd go, "Oh no!" Like he seems a little bit too still in touch with reality.
He's very much in touch with reality, but I feel like maybe it's just like the perception of him is still that he's an insane person, but it's meant to be that like he's the more reasonable one when everyone else is. But I feel like that's an interesting take of the film. So.
I felt it was like a mixture between this Nosferatu and Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola. Because Francis Ford Coppola, when he made Bram Stoker's Dracula, he went, it is a batshit crazy film. Like loads of the stuff he does, the practical effects, most of it is practical effects, but it's old style effects. He deliberately tried to do some old cinematic tricks and some just simple things, but it gives the whole film very eerie sense. I really like Bram Stoker's Dracula. Yeah. This, I kept thinking, it's like the director saw Bram Stoker's Dracula and thought, I want to make that. But people will compare my film to Bram Stoker's Dracula, and this, I put it in the guise of Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Going on to Nosferatu himself, I wasn't happy with the design that much.
The moustache was quite an interesting take. I think it's because where it's meant to be set in a really cold area and stuff like that, it's meant to be more traditionally. When vampires have cold lips, so they need a moustache. No, I can see why he picked the moustache. They probably looked at old, like Carpathian photographs of the era. Like they've got the hats and some of the clothing is very much like the kind of stuff that's worn in the original. But yeah, the moustache was. I would have got rid of that. I think his character could have been a lot scarier. Because often when he's sort of leaning up, and he's got, I was fine with the performance and the weird breathing, but there's a part where he's
like leaning over Lily Rose Depp, going, yeah, and I could see her hair and his moustache going up and down,
No.
and it just really took me out of it. I was thinking, I know it's not that big a deal, and there's been other vampires, again, going to Bram Stoker's, where Gary Oldman at points has a moustache and stuff, but it's more sort of in keeping with the character. This just seemed really weird. I felt the scene of him standing up naked as a vampire.
I didn't really need to see any of that.
No, that was totally unnecessary. That was like added for shock value. I mean, loads of people don't sleep naked. Why would he think, oh, I must sleep naked? I'll take off my dirty clothes and sleep naked in the dirt. It's just, really.
It was, like I said, it was quite vulgar. I feel like there was points where it was just very overly sexualized.
Yeah. No, I get that. I felt loads of the visuals looked great.
Oh yeah, and the transitions were really good with the like the dark clothing where they're often wearing that. It helps blend between the scenes. But I just think that there's certain elements of the film that were quite weak. Yeah,
I like the transition of where I keep going to say Jonathan Harker because that's his character. That would be Nicholas Hoult's character if it were Dracula.
Yes,
but his character was called. Do you know what it was?
I think so.
Edward. No. Where is he? My
Thomas.
That's it. Thomas, I think his surname was Z Tank Engine or something. So Thomas Z Tank Engine is waiting, and then Nosferatu walks into shot, and then it transitions into her. It cuts into her walking into shot. I thought that was good. There was loads of.
I don't think it was a bad film. I did enjoy it, and I thought it was really well written and really well acted. I just think that there were certain elements that just seemed unnecessary.
I felt some of the panning, after a while, I thought, yeah, you keep doing that same pan. Where we have the shot, and it's like he's sitting in a chair and going...
Yeah, no, there's a point, I don't know if you saw, where it, like, when it panned...
And it suddenly stopped.
No, but it was like the sun stopped, but it had like a weird jolt. And it was, I get that might have been just the point of that, but it just seemed a bit like as if like they'd just suddenly lost hold of the camera. And
Yeah, I don't think that was... If they'd done it again, if they'd done it a number of times, I think it might have been intentional, but there's nothing in that particular scene that would justify that kind of jolt kind of thing. He'd probably explain it and go, oh no, I've done that on purpose. Because, you know, it shows that he's uneasy of where he is, and no, it was literally just I think a mistake. But it didn't really take me out of it that much. But the film itself, I don't think there was anything that original to it. It's all just like a homage to the previous incarnations of this film and that other Dracula films. Yeah,
I did really like the aesthetics of this film though, like the clothing in the dark, the way that it's quite low-key lit throughout the film. I feel like that was really well done. But
yeah,
I found the final shot of the film where it's just Nosferatu's body like laid across like Lily Rose Depp's
with his skinny legs, and every single person in the cinema wouldn't have looked at them and their embrace or whatever. You looked at his skinny legs. And did he have them the whole time? I didn't notice.
No, but like it was just like that weird. It was so. I understand that it was meant to be like. I don't know.
I didn't like the ending. Again, it was
the end scene just seemed weird. Like, and it just lingered on that one shot for like about 20 seconds, and then it just cut out, and then everyone else in the cinema kind of was giggling just because it was a weird end shot.
Yeah. And I didn't like the idea of how they was going to beat him, which was so William Dafoe pretty much talked to her as if like, you're going to have to... I didn't realise this is what they were saying at the time, but obviously there's spoilers in this, by the way.
In case you've not noticed.
Yeah. He decided with her, well, you're going to have to let him kill you. That's pretty much what he said to her. And she's gone like, okay. And I thought... It doesn't make his character's now an arse, total arse. What's the point of him burning all those rats and the thing? Because if he knows that she's going to kill him anyway, it's really cowardice. Whereas they could have, like in other incarnations, sort of mounted together. I didn't like Aaron Taylor Johnson just sort of giving up. And I don't know, did he make out with his missus? I mean, I know he kissed her, but did he like have sex with her?
That's what I kind of got from it, which I felt was just really strange. Again, like that was a common thing throughout the film. Like it was just really overly sexualized, and it just seemed
see, with her performance, Lily Rose Depp, those of her bits, which were obviously very sexualized, and her curving her body up and stuff like that, I felt it was a bit much.
Yeah, it was all just much.
It didn't feel realistic. Like, even if it was meant to be her sort of like getting off on it or whatever, there's been, again, I'm going to keep saying about Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, there's scenes with both Winona Ryder and Sadie Frost when they're being introduced by Gary Oldman, like whether it's his spirit or his wolf incarnation or whatever, and their performances are a lot more restrained than this one. I felt she was a little bit over the top at times.
I understand that's the point of it, but then again, I remember when I watched Bram Stoker's Dracula for the first time. I was a lot younger than I am now, and that I didn't feel so repulsed by it. But watching that, I just felt really uncomfortable. I don't know. It's not that it was bad. It was just unnecessary. Director Robert Eggers credits SpongeBob for introducing the character of Nosferatu to younger generations in the season 2 episode 16A and the 36th episode Graveyard Shift / Krusty Love.
You've seen that one?
Yeah, I have. Where they're flickering the lights and Nosferatu. Yeah, and then about the hash-slinging slasher.
Yeah.
Which momentarily scared SpongeBob. In the middle of the episode, the lights periodically start flickering on and off, and SpongeBob and Squidward become creeped out. And at the end of the episode, someone holding his own spatula shows up to the Krusty Krab, whom SpongeBob and Squidward mistake for the hash-slinging slasher, asking for a job application. The three then discover that the continuously flickering lights are due to Nosferatu, which is the shot of the famous doorway scene in Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, except for a light switch on the wall and the character flickering it. They slightly admonish him while pointing at him and smirking. Nosferatu then smiles sheepishly as the episode ends. After the episode's airing, Nosferatu's popularity and renewed interest flourished.
Do you have references?
Wait! If that was you on the phone and you on the bus, then who was flickering the lights?
Nosferatu!
It's quite funny.
You remember? Yeah, I remember that. I remember at the time because I'd already been aware because I had it on DVD and I'd seen it. It's one of those films I had always wanted to see, the original one. And when I watched it, I remember it really creeping me out. And as an adult watching it, I was thinking, in the right settings, in the dark, watching this old black and white film. And what helped with that, another thing that renewed interest in Nosferatu, there was a film called Shadow of a Vampire from 2000, which was a fictionalized version of the making of Nosferatu.
Yes.
With I believe John Malkovich is playing F.W. Meow.
Meow.
Eddie Izzard was playing the Jonathan Harker character, and William Dafoe from this was playing Nosferatu.
Surprised you didn't look up what Nosferatu's character looked like before filming and then shave weird moustache.
No, I wasn't willing to do that. I didn't want to look up what their interpretation of Nosferatu was because I knew they was deliberately holding it back to make it more sort of shocking on appearance. So I respected that and deliberately didn't sort it out and waited for it to be revealed in film, and I was underwhelmed. Maybe it was hyped up too much.
Yeah.
I felt his physicality, he's a tall, skinny actor, they could have done something a lot more interesting with it, but he was a little bit too grotesque, like the shape of his back and like all the spine of it. It was a bit like a David Cronenberg sort of design, and it didn't seem right with this, because then at the end when she's like, oh yeah, take me, you think, oh, look at it, oh, you wouldn't want to touch it.
It's very strange.
It's no Gary Oldman.
According to Bill Skarsgård, his voice was the aspect of the part he worked hardest at. Spending 6 weeks before shooting not doing much else than just record myself, and on set I would keep doing these exercises. It sounds kind of like Mongolian throat singing.
Bill Skarsgård also trained with an opera coach to lower his voice an octave to make the voice of Count Orlok as deep as possible.
I fancy you, missus.
just like there's certain points I completely get why it was done, and I'm not like critiquing like the story in that sense, but I'm more like where Thomas willingly gives his heart locket with her hair in it to Count Orlok when they're in the castle.
This morning she made me eat the hair in her pie.
You remember that bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, again, that is something that is in Bram Stoker's novel, but it's the way Nosferatu is very sort of like, do as I say, blah, blah. I thought it's not sort of as seductive, it's not as charming. It's hard to believe these people being seduced by something so grotesque and without charm. He's not like, there's nothing redeeming about him. There's no part of it you think, oh, he's very alluring, which, he's not supposed to be, I guess, because it is Nosferatu and not Dracula. But even still, like you said with the locket, he could have said no. He could have, bit where it was the sign in the paper, oh, don't worry, that's in my own language.
Be like, okay, I need a translation.
Yeah, he could,
because he's a well intelligent man.
Yeah, his occupation is making sure that contracts as such were fine proof, and for him to suddenly come out with this new contract, saying this, he's not the one who's meant to be signing contracts. It's Nosferatu who's meant to be, or Count Orlok. I think it's meant to be sort of like a counter signing it so that he gets the property. Well, that's what he's pretending, but it's actually him saying that he's going to leave her. Which wouldn't he could say, hey, you're going to stand up in court, go on.
It's a different country, so surely different country ruling.
Possibly, but the basics is he should have said something along the lines of, I can't sign it until I've read it, and I can't read this because it's in your own language. I'll need to find a translator to translate the whole thing. And if he goes, I'll translate, you go, no, I'll get someone else to translate, thank you, because that's not legally binding. The person who's benefiting, I need to get a third party to read it. I'll take it to one of those weird Roman gypsies, or one of the priests, or one of the weird nuns, the weird sexy nuns down in the church.
Weird sexy nuns.
Or one of them was. And they can go, well, don't say this. He says he'd give you your wife one. All right, signing that then. And they go back to Nosferatu, hey, signing that. Do it in English. I suppose that would take you out of it. There was actually quite a few times I was waiting for a bit of comic relief, because there was some ridiculous moments in the film I thought...
Like what? Like, give an example.
Just like when people die or something, I wanted William Dafoe just suddenly break the mood. Like, oh, well, they're dead. Something like that. I know that's, again, harkening back to Anthony Hopkins' performance, where he was very matter-of-fact and blunt. But I think that would have he could have had so much more fun with that character, William Dafoe. I think they all could have. I thought Nicholas Hoult was really good, but like you said, there's certain bits in it you think wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
when he breaks, and the bit where he goes, breaks into Nosferatu's tomb, pushes it back, goes, I want to send a pickaxe in. It just seems all a bit like. Would you do that? Because he doesn't know necessarily he's a vampire at that point. He's feeling a bit weird and he's like, oh God, something odd has happened to me. Did I imagine this? Oh no, I'll go kill this bloke with a bloody pickaxe. He's not a murderous person, Nicholas Hoult, at that point.
No, it was... I don't know. It was just like, and it's like they're like, oh, you can't leave my home. It's a black omen if you leave and you're sick. And then like, it's just like weird. There's weird bits where it cuts and you can't quite tell. I understand that that's purposeful. It's meant to be like, oh, it's because he's delusioned as well. But then it's also like, yeah, but in certain moments he's really sick, and then it goes back to him being healthy again. So it just kind of
I think it's just a non-linear storytelling.
Yeah, I mean,
because there's bits where it jumps back and forth. But yeah, I just like if he clearly felt uncomfortable there. And when he's going, I feel sick. I bet, no, you wouldn't travel when you're sick. It is wrong. I forbid it. He could have said, all right, look, the thing is, I also miss my missus. I've promised my wife I'm going to get back to her.
No, I'll see her.
I'll see her. What does she like? What chocolates? I definitely won't be seeing it again.
Really?
Yeah, why would I? There's too many films to watch. It's nothing, like you said, it's not a bad film. It could have been a lot worse, and it's loads of interesting things in it. And, I'm looking to make my own vampire film later in the year, which is going to use a lot of shadows, dark and light. And I was watching it thinking, yeah, that's interesting. I like how they've done that, and visually it looks great. But I think maybe that took me out of it because I'm concentrated so much on something else.
Yeah, I definitely didn't dislike the film. Like overall, I did appreciate a lot of the elements of the film, but I just think that there were also bits that just kind of made me feel uncomfortable. And I get that that's maybe the point of the film to an extent, but it just also then feels unrealistic, especially where there's characters that are meant to be really intelligent that just get suddenly overcome by it. Which again, I understand.
And some of the where sort of some of the dialogue, obviously it's supposed to be, well, this is what tradition would be in their country, the way they talk and certain things. It just, like you said, it took you out of it a little bit. They could have just spoke normally. You didn't have to be all cryptic with some of the words, some of the way they speak.
In what way? In what moment?
I can't think specifically, but I know there's parts I was thinking, you're making your dialogue right now overcomplicated, really pretentious.
But
it'll be something like
the language is meant to be like Victorian.
Okay, but
or Edwardian.
This is the other thing. So say like there's a part where Emma Corrin and Lily Rose are walking by the shore, and she says, "Have you ever felt like?" I can't remember what she said. Have you ever felt like?
A bird.
Have you ever felt like you're not there and you're not a person? And she's saying all this bizarre stuff, which we know is because of whatever, because of Nosferatu. But you think realistically, you walk along with your mate and they're going, "You ever felt like you're not there?" And oh God, and the longing and the heart. You think you're losing the plot.
But that is what she says.
Yeah, but you'd go like, no, you would not have them in your house with your children. You'd go, listen, they need to get sectioned or something like that.
That's what Aaron Taylor Johnson does, and then he gets reprimanded for chucking out Thomas and Lily Rose Depp's character. They get chucked out. Ellen?
Yeah.
He gets reprimanded by William Dafoe's character for being...
Was you bothered when the kids died?
It just felt like... And also the fact that Aaron Taylor Johnson's character doesn't wake up when she's like vigorously shaking.
Yeah, but he says he sees his hand go, "Don't wake up for this. Nothing." And then goes and kills his kids. Like...
Well, and then goes and has sex with his dead wife's body in the crypt.
Oh, Aaron Taylor Johnson does. Yeah, but Nosferatu, so he kills the kids.
not Nosferatu.
Well, he would do. But then she comes in and that whole aspect of it. And then really, I'd have felt what would have been more in keeping with his character up to that point, because he wasn't the kind of character to hide from things. I think after that, and I thought this was going to happen when he was in the carriage, he'd be very much like, no, we're going to kill him now. Not go, I'm going to go back to the tomb and then have sex with my dead wife and let you set me on fire and just die. I felt it was building to something that could have been a lot more interesting.
I mean, also they should have gone to kill him at that moment, as in like while it was still light.
Yeah, that's what I didn't get. We'll kill him tonight. Oh yeah, when he's awake. Why you kill him when there's sun outside? Because at least they could have gone into the tomb, they could have opened the doors wide open, there's all the rats in there, but at least you got sunlight coming in. They could have gone up to the tomb, knocked it open, start going at him, and then,
start going at him.
Yeah, going to town on him. And then he went, but instead, no, William Dafoe had this little plan. It's okay, I got an idea. Let him kill you, and he'll forget what time it is, and the sun will come up and kill him. And it's just, I don't know.
It's over there. It's like, let him have sex with you until he dies. Like, that is basically
that
what
horrible, grotesque man. And she's
so
like,
horrible.
Yes, I agree. That's what must be done. Because half the town's dead already. It's a bit late in the day to suddenly start doing that. And then he had that thing where he says, I'm going to come back 3 nights. And this is the first night. Oh, okay. And then but
as well with that, where the whole thing's very much set at Christmas. well. It's like, I'll come back 3 nights. Like,
you will see 3 ghosts.
You'll see me 3 times. Yes. I shall bring different message.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I don't know. I felt it was a bit of a hodgepodge at points. It's not a terrible film. I feel like all I'm doing is concentrating on the negatives. The casts. I like every member of that cast.
Great cast.
And I felt it was very good acting. I felt, as I said, some of it was a little bit. For me, I felt she was a little bit too much. I felt William Dafoe was a little too less.
Yeah, I mean,
I felt Nicholas Hoult got his sort of spot on. Aaron Taylor-Johnson was good, but there was moments with him as well where it was. What was the word he kept saying? Capital. That's capital. That's a capital idea, or something like that.
I don't think it was that what you were saying.
No, what was he saying?
I can't remember. But
anyway, he was an interesting character, but I felt as it's not down to the actors. I felt as if some of the choices the director made were slightly off the mark, but you don't know that when it's on paper. So in his head, he probably thought it would look one way, and maybe that is how he wanted it to look and how he wanted the story to play out. But with her having sex with this grotesque beast, and then the beast just goes, "Oh, that was good." Oh,
dies in the sun.
Oh, I could see the sun, but I can't. Oh.
Like, surely, they'd also think, because he obviously knows it's gonna be a lengthy process with the woman, and when he just shut the blinds before then he wouldn't die.
Yeah, and also, I mean, all night long. I mean, or maybe he didn't care that he was going to die. This is the weird thing; it didn't show any sort of self-preservation on his side. I know that he really wanted her, but what, that much?
No, the way that he sleeps naked as well, leaving him completely exposed, quite literally, to being killed by someone if they come over at night. In the day.
Mm.
Weird.
And they could stake him in his crotch.
Take that, vile fiend!
Dad, that's his crotch.
Oh, sorry.
Right. This version, the Nosferatu from 2024, is currently sitting at 7.6 on IMDb. I think that will drop a little bit. I think it will drop to about 6.8, 6.9.
I think it would maybe drop to 7.2 because the thing is, it's had really good reception with a lot of people that I know, which I completely understand why. Because the story, I've also slagged it off a bit. I don't think the film's bad. I just think there's certain elements that just seem so over-exaggerated that it just doesn't seem realistic. And I get it's not a realistic tale, but at the same time, you're meant to feel that it is, and that's why it feels odd.
I'm pretty sure the previous 2 incarnations are slightly higher on IMDb.
Yeah.
It's around about the same mark. On Rotten Tomatoes, this holds 85% by the critics, 74% by the audience. Again, if you go to the 1922 one, that's 97% by the critics and 87% by the audience.
Well, that's because, again, the original is a really excellent film. And
I think it's not so much that I think it's because it was so. It was
revolutionary.
Yeah, it was, and it was so iconic. And his character, the Max Schreck's Nosferatu, is really eerie. It's what they based. It's what Tobe Hooper based his Salem's Lot Barlow vampire on.
You can definitely see the Barlow elements within.
Yeah, I think he managed to get it scarier with Barlow, but still, his Nosferatu, I think is a lot scarier than this one. And I know they really he really trying to make it scary because they have close up of his face shouting, and I thought, don't scare me. I think what's scarier is Nosferatu standing in the doorway, flicking the light and everything, but just sort of standing there staring. It's like, oh God, what are you looking at? Not some look at my moustache, it's a me, Nosferatu. Sorry, and this 1979 Werner Herzog Nosferatu is 94% by the critics, 83% by the audience. So already the current one is the least favoured out of the 3 of them.
Yeah.
And when you consider that one's only an hour long,
I was
sorry, very quickly. The budget is 50 million, and at the moment it's made 135.8 million at the box
So it's doubled its.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the budget, you look, usually how you work it out is the budget for the film, then the promotion is double that. So it's about 100 million. So it's probably made, in the end, it'll probably make about 40 million, which is good. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I'd love to have 40 million. And it'll probably be seen as a moderate success. Maybe it's just sort of like slightly better than even. I don't think they'll make a sequel.
Well, how would they make a sequel? What? Like...
Nosferatu.
And Lily Rose Depp's character is somehow alive. She's with child, and Thomas thinks it's his. In reality, it's baby Nosferatu.
Why would he think it is? Oh yeah, actually it could be because they made that as they had sex as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Again,
well,
that was so
weird.
Yeah, so she's like saying. She's saying there's all horrible things and you're crap in bed. And he goes, all right, that's it. I'll show you how crap I am. And you think,
but she's like frothing in the mouth at that point as well, and she's just broken up their house, and then he's just suddenly like, you know what?
Fancy snogging that with all the bloody white foam coming out of its mouth, calling me all these names under the sun. You know, I was married once. But yeah, it was like, look, in the end, I'll just say
I would maybe watch it again, but not like now. I'd have to give it a bit of time and stuff. But
I'll probably have more to think about it later, which I'll regret not thinking of. But we've literally just seen it in the cinema, so we've come here to give our initial thoughts. I was kind of hoping for better, and I was disappointed with the Nosferatu himself, like that. As I said, it could be something as simple as getting rid of that bloody moustache. But I think even then, if you take the moustache out of it, he's still not as eerie as the original.
The thing is, though, with Bill Skarsgård, he's really good with his facial expressions. I mean, you would have seen within it as well, the way that he does Pennywise's like weird gaping mouth. Like, I feel like that you couldn't get that with this because the moustache basically crowds his mouth. So,
but even his Pennywise, I wasn't particularly scared of. I thought it was just like an interesting choice. Obviously, it's the other end of the spectrum. He's like, oh, Georgie, rather than this one. And he's something obviously that he relishes in doing. And I think of a certain generation, they'll look at him and go, oh yeah, he's great at playing these monster-like characters. Just saying, personally, sometimes less is more. I think he goes a little bit over the top with it.
Yeah.
I think rein it in. You can be just as scary by doing a lot less. Some of the scariest people in cinema, they're scary. Like if you go to like Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
And it's just literally Anthony Hopkins smiling and talking politely. And yet it's such an unnerving performance. That's why he won the Oscar. Now, he wasn't sort of like Clarice, I'm going to help you. And all grotesque in the corner. You know, he was smartly dressed and just sort of, you know, well, hello, Clarice. Next week, Sonny has picked a film. He's picked Father of the Bride 2. I don't know why. Maybe that's the best one. I don't know the films, so I'm going to watch all 3 films. There is a third one, which was like Father of the Bride 3-ish, came out during lockdown. I thought, well, I might as well watch that as well. I've got to watch the first one because I'm not going to watch the second one without watching the first one.
Yeah.
Because then I feel a little bit lost. I made that mistake when Ben wanted us to do Brady Bunch, the sequel.
Yeah.
Because I went straight into the sequel and I thought, I feel like I'm missing a few little beats here. And I watched the first one and I thought, I wish I'd watched the first one now. Yeah. So I'm not going to make that mistake. I'll watch Father of the Bride, Uno, and then Dos. And then hopefully I won't be punching Sonny's head in for making me watch Pants films.
Anyway, thank you for watching.
Thank you very much for watching. Sorry if you liked this film and you weren't happy with our review. But
yeah. Anyway, see you soon. Bye-bye.
I was but an innocent child. Listen, pussycat, smile a bit.